These are not just cancer patients, they are first young people, people being the operative word, and they are living with cancer. They do have some different needs than, the 50 or 60-year-old next door that you just saw, or the, 10-year-old or the 5-year-old that you just saw.
Some of these therapies are quite intense. There's a lot of chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, in and out of the hospital, some of the treatment regimens last years. And so the need for support, as you can imagine, is tremendous.
If you are a junior in high school, you're really starting to have a lot of autonomy in your life. You probably drive, you make a lot of your own decisions, and then you're diagnosed with cancer, and so much of that control is taken away from you. And so many people are telling you what you can and can't do, and that's not a normal process to be happening developmentally.
They're sort of tweeners. They don't really fit on the pediatric ward where a lot is geared toward 3 and 5-year-olds. They don't really fit on the adult ward either, where many of the patients are 60 and 70. And that's where the Be Loud Sophie Foundation came in.
The Be Loud Sophie Foundation is named after our middle daughter, Sophie, and the purpose of the foundation is to support teenagers and young adults living with cancer at UNC Hospital.
To be loud means to be yourself, to be authentic, to be true, to not try to be things other people want you to be.
Sophie was extremely authentic. She could not help herself, even when it would have benefited her to be a little more toned down. She just couldn't. She couldn't. She was only who she was all the time.
Sophie had just started field hockey practice and started complaining about her back. We took her to some physical therapists, and then eventually we took her to a primary doctor. And then we got a call that night saying that she has cancer.
She walked and walked and walked the hallways of the 5th floor. That's when you sort of get glimpses into other folks' rooms. And one of the things that I think really struck Sophie and bothered Sophie was the fact that when she did see teenagers her age, they were often alone.
And I think she recognized that so many patients didn't have this family lived 7 minutes away from the hospital that was so incredibly connected to the Chapel Hill community. There were teenagers there from Roanoke Rapids who would lie there alone for days on end. And I think that's when she really started thinking about her legacy.
So we had a celebration of Sophie's life after she died, and this idea that Sophie had of how can I help particularly teenagers in the hospital, we wanted to carry that forward. So at Sophie's service, we asked people to give money to this Sophie Fund.
It was really when we hit that $70,000 mark. Wait, this is enough money to start having systemic change. And for that, we needed a foundation. We looked around the country to look for good models on how to help this age group. There are very, very few hospitals that are doing this. And we realized we needed a person in the hospital. And the Be Loud Foundation was going to fund that person.
She's that bridge.
So many people have raised so much money for us in so many different ways, whether it's a big bake sale at Merritt's, whether it's a concert at the Cat's Cradle. We've had a little girl in the neighborhood have lemonade stands for us. It goes on and on and on. It's magical.
It was obvious from the start this was something that the Cancer Center wanted to support. This is an area where we realized we could do a better job, and that the help of the Steiners would be really wonderful in that regard. And they'd done all the homework. They'd figured out how to make it work. What we needed was, a person, basically, someone who would be really focused on these issues and would be really focused on these patients.
I can slowly, kind of how you would have any other relationship in your life, get to know them as people and what's important to them. We'll go for walks, we'll go get coffee. Sometimes we sneak out of the hospital and go outside so that they can have some fresh air and a change of scenery. And the other piece is sort of programming and policy work. So we're looking at how do we make the hospital a friendlier environment for adolescents and young adults? Are there some policies we can tweak, some guidelines we can create? What does that look like on a day-to-day basis? That doesn't even quantify sort of the staff I've been able to work with and the research that we have underway. We're one of a handful of institutions in the country who have an AYA program, and it's great to be a leader in that work and offer it to our patients and families. I see it a little bit as a combination of advocacy and outreach, awareness building, and training.
I was 22, you're starting to live on your own, pay bills, work, do all of that, and instead I was sick, having to be cared for like a child again.
My hair was really long, and just waking up in the morning to see all that hair that was on the bed, just it got me kind of sad.
I really love my job, but having cancer kind of derailed some of my plans. You can't be deployable as a soldier and still have to receive the kind of treatments that I received.
I am so grateful for Lauren, and I can't stress enough how amazing it's been having her in my life.
She's really just always went above and beyond her job to make sure that we were taken care of.
I think of Sophie as a matchstick that has sort of lit this fire, and it's a very cool thing to be able to fuel those flames.
And I am 100% certain that this kind of, boots on the ground, real focus on individual patients will improve outcomes.
We just hired an adolescent and young adult medical director, so we're expanding our team, and it's pretty amazing how quickly all this has happened and the momentum that we're carrying forward.
The challenge that we face is to make sure that that work continues to grow, and that in partnership with Lineberger, we can figure out what the next things are, how to solve the next problem, how to do the next set of research, how to grow the program into something that is sustained over the long haul.
If you do it right, the patients are going to do better, and we're going to cure more of them, and they're going to live long, happy lives where cancer is nothing but a distant memory.